And the last thing I want to talk about the Culinary Institute of America in San Antonio. We started a scholarship there. San Antonio campus is focused on the Latin cuisines, and we've started a scholarship program there. So I'm gonna start to wrap this up so that we have time for some questions. Our relationships with our employees, I just want to briefly talk about our employee value proposition, which is how we talk about our employees and what we do with our employees. And when somebody enters the company, we talk about this employee value proposition, and it's a cycle about recruiting and welcoming and living and growing and being rewarded for working within the company. We are a people business. There is nothing we do that isn't people-oriented. My job is all around people. My job is to garner resources for our teams and ensure that we're represented within the enterprise and to help our people, our teams grow. And I learned, probably my most valuable lesson was right after 9/11, when Spirit was really struggling, and I had been appointed president, and it was a tough time. And I said, the only thing I can do here is try to get our team to work together. And I focused on the people and not the numbers, and the results finally came. And it was a huge lesson to me, a leadership lesson that I take with me today. And the hospitality industry, the restaurant industry, whenever there is a natural disaster, whether it's 9/11, whether it was Katrina, here closer to home, the Joplin tornadoes, our teams are there, and they are there at the first sign. And we have so many stories, especially around the tornadoes here in this state, that truly warm my heart, and know that I am working with some amazing people. The last thing I want to talk about the company is our work within diversity and inclusion. And I have been very intimately involved with our journey the last 11 years. Our CEO 11 years ago said, we've got to change who we are, the face of this company, what we look like, how we act, what we do. And he set about and hired a chief diversity officer, and we focused on this, and we changed our organization, and we changed it in such a way that I have people, when I talk about our organization and I talk about the inclusive nature of it and how we work today, they say, I think I would fit in your company. And I say, I think you would too. But it is about, we did the hard work around processes, around changing our processes, about how we hire and where we look for talent. And because 11 years ago, the CEO said, if I look out and I look at the demographics in the company, in the country, and I look at who's going to be our customers, our employees, we have to look different, and we have to be able to be inclusive of that. Today, we are #1 on Diversity Inc.'s top 50. We have been in the top 5 for many years, and that's something I'm very proud of, and we work very hard at it. I'm looking at my time. Okay, I'm all right. I want to tell you just one story about diversity and inclusion. And it was about 11 years ago as we were starting network groups, and many of you know what network groups are. They're kind of the grassroots organizations around affinity groups, and I was asked to be the chair of the women's network group, and I was a new division president, and I was on the executive committee, and I had not been there before, and it was mostly all men, and I had a concern. I didn't know if I should do that. I didn't know if that was the right thing for me, and so I went to my boss, who was the architect of all of our diversity and inclusion work, and I sat down, and I had learned I just need to ask questions when I have a question. And so I told him, I said, I'm concerned that I'm going to be viewed as a women's issue person. And I want to be viewed as a good leader. I want to be viewed for the results that I get. And I don't want to be labeled. And I was concerned about that. I was new to the executive team. It was all men. I needed to learn to be with that team. And it was probably the shortest meeting in my whole life. And he looked at me and he said, Lorna, if not you, then who? And so I closed my folio and I left, and I became chair of the Women's Network Group for about three or 4 years. And I tell you, I was at Spirit at the time, and what it did was it gave me exposure to the rest of the company. I would not have had that exposure when we sold the business. I would have been an unknown person because Spirit was managed separate and apart, and it really gave me a big wide view. And so ever since then, I've given that advice to many, many people over the years, and it worked very well for me. So let me just bring it all together, and then we're going to go to some questions. As I said before, we need your students. And so you need to tell us how best we can partner with you, because that's going to help us grow. It's going to help us improve the quality of life for many people, including your students. I think that the real inspiration for the work happens when we do it together, and when we look for solutions together, and when we try to build the relationships. So I'm going to close. I'm going to share a personal story with you. I try to be a very open and honest person, and I try to be a very transparent leader. I have just found that's how I like to be led. I like to know about people, and I like to connect with people. And I can't stand in front of anybody these days and not tell them about the year I've had. And then I'm going to kind of bring it back to the relationships, because never before has relationships and networks been as important as this year for me. My husband last year was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he passed away in January. And I tell you what, the relationships that I made in this industry were there. I didn't know what we would need. It came out of the blue last April, and the relationships within the company I work for, the relationships within the boards I sit on, a plug for Facebook. That's how I found all my junior high girlfriends. But it was just it was the hardest year of my whole life. Many, many leadership lessons. But I also, as I was trying to determine how was I going to help keep Steve's memory alive, I said, I've got to do something in his name. I need to keep his memory alive somehow. And he also had kind of a big ego, so I think he'd like something with his name on it. That was in the back of my head. But I endowed a scholarship in his name, the Stephen P. Donatone Endowed Scholarship, through the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. And it is a scholarship that will, I hope that some of the high school students will apply and come to your schools, but it will follow one student for their education. And however long that is, if that's a 2-year program, if that's a 4-year program, that scholarship will follow them. And then we will start with another scholar. And as we were designing this with the Educational Foundation, for me, it was about how do I keep Steve's memory alive, but how do I also he was all about reaching down and helping somebody else, and that just felt like the right thing to do, and to combine it with the restaurant industry and the hospitality, because the scholarship, the students, it's for students who will go into culinary or hospitality programs just like yours. It just felt like the right thing to do. And I end with that because it was valuable lessons this year about the value relationships. And now I plan to keep those relationships with those scholars. They're going to be, the first one, we'll probably get to meet next spring sometime, but really important lessons about the value of those relationships. So, I am going to close with that. I truly appreciate being asked to speak here. I do feel like I have all new friends, and we have a few minutes for some questions. Did we get any tweets? Do we have any tweeting questions? We were trying to get some tweets, and I'm up here, so I couldn't tweet. Or I would have tweeted myself a question.
I think we forgot to tell everybody about the tweeting, so we'll do that tomorrow.
Oh, so we wanted these people to tweet.
If anybody has a question, raise your hand. Dennis and I will come.
Okay, all right. Well, that didn't work very well, did it? Okay, so Chad has a microphone. Lots of people have microphones.
Sodexo used to have Action Learning University. Are you still continuing with that program?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to repeat that.
Sodexo used to have Action Learning University, through which your employees did projects in accordance with some universities, and I was involved with that, I remember. So I was wondering if that program is still continuing.
I don't believe it is, but I'll have to ask about that, because I don't think we have continued that. Who's next? Oh, come on, there's nothing worse than standing up here with no questions.
Research shows that organizational change happens over an extended period of time, not overnight, 10 to 15 years. So it's been 20 years since Marriott and Sodexo were together. So what has remained a carryover of some of the Marriott culture to the Sodexo today?
Wow, that's a great question. We were talking a little bit about the powerful brand of Marriott. And it's been, maybe it has been 20 years. Sodexo purchased Marriott Management Services 20 years ago or so, and for 3 years, Sodexo Marriott, that was the name. It was 3 years, and to this day, I still get, when I talk about I work for Sodexo, I get, oh, yeah, they're with Marriott. I'm like, no, I love Marriott, but no. I'll tell you what is the strongest thing about that, because the processes and everything over time are all new. We change, and some of the old, whether it was Marriott or whether it was Silers or Saga or Sodexo, they've all changed, and we've moved on. But I'll tell you, the folks who were within the Marriott organization who now are still there and who are Sodexo employees, there was such a culture within Marriott that they still talk about. I'll say, so, how long you've been in the company? Well, I was Marriott. I was on the Marriott side. I'm like, but it's Sodexo. Yeah, but it was, that culture. I just think when the two businesses combined, that business of that culture of service, which is so prevalent within the Marriott culture, and I know so many people from that organization. It was a fantastic combination of businesses, I can tell you that. Who else?
Presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're very passionate, obviously. What keeps you up at night regarding the business?
Oh, I'll tell you, it's always people related. It's, you know, the numbers are the numbers, but it's about how do we recruit, how do we retain, how do we engage, how do we empower, how do we keep, with 70,000 employees, you know, 55,000 of those are frontline. It is what keeps me up at night is anything around our people and our human resources. And there's not much, I got to tell you, there's not much about business that keeps me up. It has gotten put way into perspective this year for me, but it will always be about the people. We are right on time, I got to tell you. Thank you. We are right on time.
Yeah, right on time.
Thank
Please
you.
stay with us.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Lorna, thank you so much for sharing your story and for kicking off our conference. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
And we have for you a gift to show our
wow.
appreciation. I think that you will.
It's beautiful.
You will love this.
Oh,
okay?
thank you.
It is the Circle of Friends arrangement, symbolizing friendship, caring, sharing, and good fortune. And please accept this gift as a reminder that you are always included in the ICHRIE Circle of Friends.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. I do have friends. Thank you.
As we begin our time together, it's my hope that you make the most of this incredible opportunity to enhance our skills and share our expertise. The marketplace showcases products and services on the cutting edge of our industry. We'll get insights from industry leaders and our peers at the very general sessions, symposiums, and concurrent sessions. Tomorrow, Thursday, is a big day. You won't want to miss the industry sessions and meetings in the afternoon. During the evening, after visiting the career fair and our mix and mingle reception, the night is yours to explore many of the fine restaurants and sites St. Louis has to offer. And of course, Friday evening is our awards ceremony and gala. Please join us for that exciting night. Now, I invite you to follow our special entertainment to the marketplace. Have a great conference.